yeah, thanks for coming again. My name is Sarah Chalice. I am the co-host along with Aaron. Um, of the coalition meeting for August. We're really happy that you're all here. We're gonna have a really awesome presentation today. But first, we'll do some of our introductions, just to introduce our team really quick, and then we'll introduce our speaker for today. So yeah, I'm Sarah Chalice. I am one of the co-hosts of the coalition meeting, and I oversee the event planning and coordination for our large-scale resource fairs on college campuses specifically. So yeah, I will pass it to Crystal.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am Crystal Bleischer. I'm the program director here with Partners for Wellness and specifically overseeing our Connect OC project. Aaron, I'll shoot it to you.
I think you have to unmute her, Crystal.
We have to. Hang tight. This is going to get interesting here.
There we go. Good morning. Guess we're trying out some new tricks with our meeting this morning. So getting that wired. I am Erin O'Flaherty. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Connect OC under Partners for Wellness. Like Sarah said, we alternate turns leading the coalition meetings, and then I am also the manager of our Cultural Arts and Mental Health Outreach Program. So happy to see you all today and looking forward to the great discussion. And I will pass it to Phoebe.
Morning, everyone. I'm Phoebe Vu. I'm also one of the outreach coordinators, but I mostly focus on outreach and marketing. So any of the social media content and newsletter, I'll help with promotion for events. So if anyone out here has an event they want to promote on our social media, feel free to tag us. We can share it to our story and anything. I'll shoot it to Joy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joy Medina. I'm an outreach coordinator on the team as well, and I kind of focus on networking for the resource fairs, and I also help Phoebe with social media as well. So
awesome. Thanks,
nice.
everyone.
I see our CEO in the room too, so I'm going to shoot it to Phil for a quick intro.
Okay, thanks, Crystal. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Excited about our program today and excited to meet Phoebe and what she has to share. But welcome. Have a great meeting, and I'll shoot it back to Sarah to carry us on.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. I'm going to introduce our guest speaker today, Phoebe Alva. Yeah, Phoebe, go ahead and take it from here.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Phoebe Alva, and I'm the executive director of the Tristan Alva Alliance. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my life and the life of my brother who inspired our foundation and, you know, our journey thus far as a new nonprofit in Orange County. And I'm really excited to be here and share a story that's really important to me. So thank you to Connect OC for having me here. You guys are so amazing. I've loved all of our conversations so far. And yeah, I think that I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and I'll get started talking about the Tristan Alva Alliance. Okay. Okay. Is my screen shared for everyone? Great. Okay, so like I said, my name is Phoebe Alva, and I'm the executive director of the Tristan Alva Alliance. And we're a new nonprofit in Orange County with a mission to make mental health care accessible to everyone. So today I'm going to be talking not just about our nonprofit and our missions, but also my story, my brother's story, and a little bit more about why harm reduction, overdose prevention, and mental health care is important here and now within our community. Great. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so my mission starts with my brother, who you can see on screen right now. This is my brother, Tristan, and He was my big brother, and he was an incredible artist. I think that he was the only person I've ever known who I knew had a mission in this world to be an artist. Everything that he created, starting when he was really, really young, was a masterpiece, and he could really do anything artistically. He was an incredible songwriter and instrumentalist on the guitar. He taught me how to play bass, and I'm still a bass player to this day. He gave me his bass when I went off to college so that I could join a band. He was an incredible painter, sculptor. He was an animator, and he would also design clothing. And he went to Cal Arts after attending OSHA, the arts high school in Orange County, to pursue experimental animation under the Walt Disney Scholarship for Promising Young Artists. And just before he was about to graduate, a semester before graduation, he passed away due to an accidental overdose on fentanyl. And I, of course, as his little sister, was very naive, and I did not know the ways that my brother was struggling. I saw an artist, and I saw someone who had a lot of friends, who had a huge social life. And I didn't realize all the ways that my brother was struggling in silence when he was alone with himself. Um, and he grew up in Orange County, where there is a huge stigma against mental health and substance use. And I think that throughout being raised here and growing up here, a lot of that judgment, really got to him. And so um, my story is inspired by his. All of the work that I've been doing for the past 4 years has been inspired by his life. And that's what I'm going to tell you about now, what I did with the life of my brother, someone who should not have passed away so young, who had so much potential, who I know shares the story with a lot of individuals who you all probably know here today. So when Tristan passed away, I realized everything that I didn't know. I didn't know that overdoses were happening in the amount that they were. I didn't know that overdose was the #1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds in the country, because that's me, that's my brother, that's my friends, that's a lot of us in this room today. And a lot of us don't realize how pertinent of an issue overdose is right now. And I didn't feel, and I felt that a lot of people that I knew probably also lacked that information. So I made it a mission to educate myself as much as possible on overdose prevention and harm reduction. And luckily, there was a new position opening up at my university for an overdose prevention intern. It was like written in the stars, meant to be. I applied for the job, and I was the first overdose prevention intern at the University of California, Santa Barbara. And the job description was, you have X hours of work a week, prevent overdoses in whatever way you can. So I started distributing overdose prevention kits with naloxone and fentanyl test kits. I educated all of the sororities and fraternities at my school. I set up an annual art and music festival called Generation Recovery, which is still running now after I've graduated. It's become an annual event. And what that was bringing together local bands and artists from the community to celebrate overdose prevention and recovery and harm reduction together. Everyone there gets a kit and gets to learn about how to use Narcan between every band set. I also started a student organization called Gauchos for Ending Overdose that garnered over 50 members in the first month of being an organization at the school. And they would come in and build our overdose prevention kits to distribute at our large scale events. So I felt that I was able to turn my grief and my frustration with myself for not knowing what my brother was experiencing into a tool for helping others. And I was able to reach out to those who didn't think that they needed this information and show them that even if you don't use, even if you don't think you know anyone who does or who might be at risk, you should still know this information because it can be life-saving. And I ended up meeting a lot of individuals who opened up about their stories about losing loved ones, losing siblings, which, by the way, is an incredibly disenfranchised form of grief. A lot of people don't talk about sibling loss enough. There's a lot of conversation and resources for individuals who've lost children, who've lost parents. There's actually more information and more literature on the loss of pets than there is about the loss of siblings. And as a young person with a brother or sister, you expect to grow old with this person. It's a forever type of bond. It's somebody that you share memories with that you don't share with anybody else on the planet. And you don't ever think that at a family function in 30 years, you won't be able to recall the story together of playing together when you were little. And losing that relationship is it's a grief that I don't know how to describe. I say that it's a problem that will never be able to be solved because I'm a problem solver. I like to come up with solutions, and it's an unsolvable grief. It shouldn't have happened. And I wish that I had known the signs to look for in my brother, and I wish that I had had the resources to help him when I could have. But it's obviously not something that I can go back and amend. So I want to show other people the signs that they can look for, the resources that they can have, and also the tools that they can carry to save lives. So that's where I started my work, which brings me to my next slide, which is the start of the Tristan Alva Alliance. So after doing all of that work at my university, I graduated and my dad reached out to me and asked me to join the Tristan Alva Alliance. So my dad is a psychiatrist, and he had formed a board of his own brother and other community leaders who were passionate about this issue and also had a deep love for my brother. And he recognized my skills for event organization, overdose prevention, and just group leadership in general. And he asked if I would like to lead the Tristan Alva Alliance alongside him. Obviously, forming this, with my family means a lot to me. And I think that for my dad, as a psychiatrist, he wanted to find another way to help people, who are struggling with a similar issue. If they have a child or family member that is struggling, or they themselves are struggling but don't know where to turn for resources, we wanted to create a place where people can go without boundaries or barriers. Uninsured individuals, underinsured individuals could go and seek out the help that they needed for whatever mental health they were dealing with. So with my background on overdose prevention and his background as a psychiatrist and a board of really inspiring individuals, we decided to group up and found the Tristan Alva Alliance together. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our mission, and all four pillars of our mission are essential to what I think is really important to bring to this community. So of course, our first mission is to examine. We want to allow anybody to come into our organization and get examined for whatever resources they need. And we plan on delivering really robust, individualized psychiatric care. We're going to be using treatments like RTMS, which is a highly inaccessible but highly effective treatment for depression and other mental health disorders. And of course, traditional medication therapy and providing therapy as well. So our next mission will be to extend, and that means treating those with co-occurring disorders and making sure that individuals aren't being pushed around from facility to facility, not knowing where to turn, and making sure that we're providing both recovery and harm reduction resources alongside psychiatric and therapeutic care. Our next goal is to empower, and this means bringing opportunities, financial support, and resources to young psychiatric physicians assistants who are aspiring to join the workforce. And finally, our goal is to engage. And this kind of is like where my heart comes alive, because this is the work that I really love, which is engaging with the community. This is bringing educational programs to local high schools and colleges, community centers, teaching about overdose prevention and harm reduction, and making sure that our whole community is on the same page, reducing the stigma against mental health, and making young kids realize that they are seen, they're supported, and knowing where to get the resources that they might need for themselves, for their parents, for their families and friends, and reducing the stigma around using language like overdose, addiction, mental health disorder, so that individuals are willing and able to get the help that they need. So I'm going to go a little bit more into each of our mission points, just so you guys have a really thorough understanding of why each is so incredibly important. So focusing on our community in specific, it's important to know that a huge percent of Orange County residents report not only feeling mental distress, but also reported not seeking the help that they needed because they didn't know where to get it. They didn't know if they would be able to afford it, or they didn't have the means to access this help in general. So we really want to make sure that we're not only providing quick, accessible care to everyone, but that it's highly specialized, it's highly personalized, and that we're going to be providing the best treatment possible. Having a board with a few psychiatrists on it is really incredible because we'll have access to really complex care. And it's important to know that mental health care isn't one size fits all. Some people need just a little bit of attention, know where to be pointed, just a couple of appointments, and other people need reoccurring attention for a long period of time with more complex treatments, more specialized treatments and specialized care. Okay. Yeah, so extend for those with co-occurring disorders, aka COD, and a little bit more information about co-occurring disorders because it's not spoken about enough, and it's also not widely treated as an all-in-one comprehensive care situation with most healthcare facilities, but approximately 21.5 million Americans reach the criteria for co-occurring disorders each year. So it's estimated that 1 in 2 people with substance use issues also struggle with mental health challenges. That means that you can't just treat for addiction and you can't just treat for depression or anxiety. You need to look both in the eye and see how you can meld those two treatments to provide the best care for an individual. So our goal is to provide not only safe recovery treatments and resources and harm reduction tools like naloxone and fentanyl test kits, but to pair that with the proper mental health treatment that an individual needs. Oh, all right. So empower, this is a really important facet, and it actually was based on my brother's work in the mental health workforce. Before my brother passed away, he was actually working as an RTMS technician with my dad and providing RTMS care for individuals with severe depression. And he absolutely loved it. He found that he was able to help other individuals who he could see and understand in front of him. He was able to not only deliver this really, really incredible, impactful treatment, but he was also able to engage with conversations with others that he related to. And he was seeing them get better. And that led him to start having conversations about potentially pursuing PA school. Which he, of course, didn't get around to being able to pursue. But it made us realize how important it is to encourage and support individuals who want to take that pathway, alongside the fact that there's currently a huge mental health workforce shortage. So currently, the nation's psychiatric workforce is projected to decrease by 27% by 2030. So there's going to be a huge shortage of psychiatrists and other mental health workforce workers. This includes PAs, psychiatrists, therapists, and this is a problem that we want to address head on within our community. And we're going to be doing that by offering a scholarship program for aspiring PAs, and also focusing on hiring and providing mentorship to young PAs who have just entered the workforce and really fostering their ability to do the work that they need to do and giving them opportunities to work with clients head on straight out of school. And finally, we want to focus on, again, engaging with our community. So like I mentioned earlier, the leading cause of death for 18 to 45-year-olds in the US is overdose. And specifically, a large amount of those overdoses are taken up by fentanyl-related overdose. And the CDC has stated that nearly 110,000 people have died due to drug overdose in the last year, which is one death every 5 minutes. That's huge. And I think that if you were to ask an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 25-year-old what the leading cause of death in the US was, they might say, heart conditions, car crashes, cancer, but it's overdose. And that's a lot of people who don't use regularly. These are a lot of individuals who use something once and they don't realize that it's actually been laced with something or that it's a different drug than they were told that it was, and they're accidentally overdosing. And this is a huge loss to our population of young people. Not even that, it's just a huge loss in general. And of course, for every overdose death, the entire family and network of community is affected heavily, which causes the need for more mental health treatments in the community. So we not only want to look at treating the root cause, but treating the after effects for those who are grieving, for those who maybe start even using after the loss of a loved one because they don't know where else to turn. So engaging with young people, engaging with communities, engaging with older people who might be in the mindset that, abstinence is key, or that we just need to get rid of it. We need to look the other way even. We want to get in front of individuals who don't necessarily know that they need this information and show them how important it is to address these issues, open up the conversation, and also carry and supply the tools that we need to prevent and respond to overdose. Okay, so again, why does Orange County in specific need an organization like the Tristan Alva Alliance? First of all, I want to address the stigma and belief systems and lack of visibility. I think that specifically in this community, there's a huge stigma against mental health disorders and a huge stigma against using. This is a beautiful, beautiful community, and I'm so lucky to be a part of it. I'm so lucky to have grown up here, to have been, a young person going to school here. But we don't see a lot of addiction out on the streets. There's not a lot of homelessness in the area because homeless individuals are typically picked up by the police and taken to LA. And living in LA now, I of course see this huge population of individuals using on the street. So because we don't have that visible reminder here in Orange County every day of the amount of people using, the amount of people passing away from lethal overdose, we don't actually realize or see how big of an issue it is, which makes there be a huge lack of conversation. But it's important to remember that over 20% of adults in Orange County reported needing help with their emotional and mental health. And also, it's been found that Orange County has a higher hospitalization rate due to alcohol or substance use compared to 75% of other Californian counties. That's a huge amount that we're not talking about. And also, the death rate due to drug use in Orange County is 15,500 per 100,000 residents, which is considerably higher than most other California counties. And that includes my brother. That includes others I'm sure that all of you are familiar with, loved ones that we all know. And I think that because some people because Orange County is considered a more like affluent and safe community, it's not addressed head on the way that it needs to be. And Orange County not only needs services for free and accessible mental health care, but again, those tools for harm reduction and overdose prevention. Okay, so now I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a crash course on some factors of overdose prevention. So first of all, what is naloxone? And what is Narcan? So Narcan is a form of naloxone, which is an opioid overdose reversal drug. So if you have naloxone or Narcan on you and you experience somebody overdosing at a bar, at a party, at a concert, at the fair, if you have naloxone on you, you have the ability to save their life. And I want you to think about it like knowing CPR. Babysitters are trained. I was trained when I was like 13 how to use CPR when I was going through babysitting training for Girl Scouts. And it's a life-saving technique, right? And it's not because you know for sure that the kid that you're babysitting is, going to have an emergency in which you need to use CPR, but it's just in case a situation arises. You hope that it doesn't ever, and you hope you don't ever have to use it. But having the tool and knowing how has the power to save a life. So why wouldn't you want to carry it with you? Why wouldn't you want to have naloxone on you and share it with your friends just in case? So again, it's an opioid overdose reversal drug. So this is my Narcan bag that I've had for 4 years now. I got it at Gauchos for Recovery at UC Santa Barbara, and I keep my Narcan in here. And I always tell my friends, I'm 23 years old and I have a lot of friends who go out in LA, and I always say the most important thing to bring with you is naloxone, your lip gloss, and your ID. Don't forget it. So naloxone is really small and it looks like any other nasal spray. If you use nasal spray for allergies, it's kind of the exact same thing. And the way you use it is very, very simple. I'm going to kind of walk you through the process so that when you get your hands on some naloxone, if you don't already have it, you'll know how to use it simply. And I think a lot of people are kind of scared about the process. It's kind of seems daunting, but it's like genuinely the simplest process imaginable. So first of all, it's important to recognize the signs of an overdose. And there's the big three that you want to look at. These are pinpoint pupils, lack of breathing, and unresponsiveness. This can also include a variety of other signs like clammy skin, blue mouth, just signs of lack of consciousness and lack of breathing in general. If you see any of these signs, you want to use Narcan. And even if you're not sure that the person is actually overdosing, you should still use Narcan, because if they're not overdosing, it will have no effect. I could take Narcan right now and nothing would happen, but if someone was next to me overdosing and I gave them this, it would allow them to start breathing again. So always use it even if you're not sure. So if you see a person showing the signs of an overdose, you want to get them laying down flat on their back and tilt their chin down to open up their airway. Lie them flat on their back, tilt their chin down to open up their airway, and then take the Narcan out of its box and put the pointy part up one of their nostrils. Press on the red tab to insert the dose. So you've just administered naloxone, right? It's just like any other nasal spray, except for you want to get the person lying down. And after you've injected the first dose of nasal spray, if you know how to give chest compressions, this is a good time to do it. But first, you want to make sure that you or someone else calls 911. And this is incredibly important because naloxone only lasts 60 to 90 minutes. And depending on the amount of opioid that a person has consumed, once the Narcan wears off, they have the potential to overdose again. So it's really important to get them into professional medical care. And it's important to know that about 40% of lethal overdoses could have been prevented by a person in the room who either didn't deliver naloxone or didn't call 911. And this happens for a lot of reasons. Individuals are scared to call 911 if there are drugs on the premises, if they gave the person the drug that they took that caused an overdose, or a lot of people are scared of the police and they don't want to call 911. But it's really important to know that the Good Samaritan law exists, and that if you call 911 to help someone with a medical emergency, nothing will be inspected, nobody will get in trouble, and this allows more people to call 911 to save people's lives. So the Good Samaritan law is incredibly important and saves lives every single day. So you want to call 911. And after about 3 minutes, if the person is still unresponsive, you can give them a second dose in their other nostril and just wait till the ambulance shows up. Also, when you call 911, you can say specifically, 911, I'm dealing with a medical emergency, and this will send an ambulance rather than like a cop car and make sure that the person is being treated right away. So that's how you use naloxone. It's super simple. Really, in essence, it's just a nasal spray. And it's important to know that when a person is revived from an overdose, maybe they'll have a variety of reactions. So if it's somebody that didn't know that they were taking a drug that would have caused them to overdose, if it's someone who took something by accident, or they weren't aware of what was going on, if they're not a regular drug user, they'll probably be really confused and feel really sick. But if it's somebody who is an addict, who's using regularly, who's overdosing, they might show signs of aggression or anger, because when you're overdosing, you don't know that you're overdosing. Your body just feels like it's high, and mentally you just feel like you're having a great high. And a lot of reactions to naloxone being administered are signs of anger or aggression. So what you want to do is give the person space. Don't try to give them water or food or put them in any position. Just let them do what they need to do until an ambulance arrives. This is the way that you can keep the individual safest and keep yourself safe as well. And now I want to talk a little bit about fentanyl. So fentanyl is a drug that is currently killing a lot of the individuals who are dying from overdose every single year. It's an opioid stronger than meth, it's stronger than heroin, and it's incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Right now, any drug that an individual buys illicitly is likely laced with fentanyl. So over half of all the pressed pills and powders that have been tested right now, that have been tested by the DEA, that are illicit substances, there was found to be over 2 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in this powder or pill. So it's incredibly important to know how to test for it in a drug, not because you yourself are using, because you're probably not. I don't know you, but so that you can teach others. And again, teaching others, talking about being a proponent for, or talking about being a supporter of harm reduction and overdose prevention publicly on your Instagram or on your Facebook, or talking about it to your kids at night at dinner, allows those who are struggling to come to you in confidence and ask for these tools to express that they're not doing well and that they didn't know that this support was available. I can't tell you the amount of times after I went to a sorority to teach about overdose prevention that girls would DM me or email me or come up to me in person afterwards and say, I can't talk about this, but I need help and I need these resources. Or my best friend, I'm scared that my best friend is using, or I'm scared that my sister is using. Can you give me some of this? Can I teach her how to use it? Because I don't know what else to do. So talking about it openly and knowing how to deliver naloxone and also use fentanyl test kits is a form of harm reduction, and it's a form of showing your love to your community. So knowing how to test for fentanyl is really easy. And it's, again, a really quick process. So in this bag, I also keep fentanyl test kits. And when I do, go to like a public place in LA, sometimes I'll leave them in the bathroom, or I'll just give them to people if I know that they're going out to give to friends. And making sure that your loved ones are carrying tools like these, again, it's a form of love and it's a form of harm reduction. So what you want to do, it's incredibly simple. You take whatever drug you're testing and make sure it's in powdered form. Fentanyl tends to follow what's called the chocolate chip cookie effect, in which it clings to itself. So if you test just a tiny part of a pressed pill, you're probably not testing the part of the pill that has a cluster of fentanyl in it. So if that part of the pill comes out clean, there's no way to ensure that the rest of the pill doesn't have fentanyl in it. So you want to make sure that the drug is completely evenly distributed. The fentanyl test strip is a very small strip, and it looks like this. And what you want to do is mix that part of the drug with some water. It can just be like a bottle cap full of water, or you can fill this container with water. Dip the test strip in, and after about 1 minute, it'll show you the results using the lines that will show up, kind of like a pregnancy test. 1 line is positive for fentanyl, 2 lines is negative for fentanyl. And if, for example, you were going to use a drug, and you tested it and saw that it was positive for fentanyl, you would know not to take that drug because that drug has the power to cause you to overdose. So again, this is a really incredible tool. If you have students who are in college, make sure that they know this information. Students in high school students are incredibly at risk of using unknown substances. And again, the core concept of harm reduction is reducing harm. It's the idea that no lives lost is the most important factor to consider. And if individuals are using, that they're doing it in the safest way possible. I would rather, an individual use but know what they're using and know that they're doing it safely than doing it recklessly. And sort of like sex ed, you can't just talk to a population of people and tell them to be abstinent and expect that it will happen. Instead, you give them the resources to do things as safely as possible and know that they know that you're there to support and love them if something does arise in which they need your support. So there's a couple misconceptions as well about fentanyl. There have been a couple of sort of fake news stories that have gone really viral about fentanyl and fentanyl exposure. There have been stories about police opening the trunk of a car that had fentanyl in it and they overdosed because the powder was in the air. That story was proven false. There's also a story about an individual who gave chest compressions to an individual overdosing, and they overdosed because of the amount of contact that they had with the individual overdosing. These stories are more than likely false and also incredibly harmful, because what it says to the reader or listener is that if you see somebody overdosing, you should get as far away as possible, when the reality is that you need to go and help them. You need to deliver naloxone, give them chest compressions if you can, and make sure that they're safe, because like I said, 40% of lethal overdoses could have been prevented by the individuals in the room. So don't believe these misconceptions. Make sure to actually do your research if you read a fake story like this. And if you hear an individual talking about overdose, relating it to these stories and how you really shouldn't touch anybody overdosing and you really don't want to help them because it puts you at risk, make sure to, encourage them to do a little more research, because we want to save lives, not put more lives at risk through false stories. And again, I think the biggest question is like, I don't use, why should I care? My kids don't use, my family doesn't use, why should I care? My answer is that I did not know that my brother was using. And a lot of people that I know didn't know that their loved one was using. A lot of people don't know that their best friend was going to take a pill that was accidentally laced, or that was laced and they took accidentally or unknowingly. So you should care for the love of those that you care about. So my closing thoughts on how you can be the change. I want to wrap up a little bit early in case people have questions, but I think that relating to both my work in overdose prevention and also the founding of the Tristan Alva Alliance is that if you really care about an issue, whether that's, mental health or bringing arts and creativity to underserved communities, whatever it is, you can be the change and you can start in small areas. It's important to start by publicly voicing your opinions for what you believe in and publicly showing your community what you care about, so that those like-minded individuals can come to you and you can start broadening these conversations and talking about what big changes you can bring to the community that you want to see being made. I want to see more young people have access to the mental health care that they deserve. And that's the kind of change that I'm trying to bring to Orange County with my dad and with the Tristan Alva Alliance. And you truly have the power to make an impact wherever you are. When I was going back to school after my brother passed away, I didn't even know if I was going to return back to school at all. I was having an incredibly hard time. Again, like I said, there's not a lot of support for individuals who've lost a sibling, and I felt invisible and alone. And when I found that I could do some work doing overdose prevention at my school, I made it my mission to make it as big and impactful on my campus as possible. And I put all of my energy into this small little part-time job. And I feel that I really was able to make a change because our number of reported overdoses within Isla Vista and within the UC Santa Barbara went down significantly during the next 3 years because of the resources that we provided. So wherever you are, no matter how young or old you are, and no matter how many resources you believe you have in this moment, just by talking to other people and making your beliefs truly public to your community and showing love for others has the power to make a much bigger change than you might think. Um, so thank you so much for listening to my talk about my organization and the work that I've done. I think I'll open it up to some questions now if there are any. And we can all chat together.
Yeah, definitely feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question for Phoebe. Yeah, maybe I'll start us off. I do. So yeah, if you're comfortable sharing, like, do you know what mental health kind of struggles your brother was experiencing that kind of led him to using, or yeah, do you have any like information to shed light on for that?
Yeah, so my brother was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 8 years old, and he got medicated as a child. And this is not at any fault of my parents or anyone because this is really common. There's, I'm sure I was watching TV recently and there was a commercial about like, you know, having really young kids showing the signs of ADHD and what sort of medication they can be prescribed. I think it was like kindergarten or first grade. Look for these signs. Um, and later in high school, he was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. So he had a pretty good mix going on of things going against him in terms of his mental health. And I think that also it was the stress of COVID because when COVID happened, that was his senior year of college and he was brought back home. And so not only was he dealing with his mental health, which was, being treated, he had the resources. That's the thing is that, of course, like our family was incredibly supportive. I loved my brother very, very much. Of course, we had an on and off relationship. We fought. um, it wasn't ever perfect, but we all supported him and loved him a lot, and he had access to all the resources that he needed. But I think that coming back during COVID and being completely isolated from his community of friends that he had made at college, being able to create art, artists need to be creating art and they need the environment to do it. And I think that that is what ended up, creating a nosedive for him to where he felt he was really struggling and wasn't able to open up to it about wasn't able to open up about it to really anyone. His friends didn't know what was going on. His family didn't know what was going on. And I think that that's the saddest part is that the support was there, but he didn't know that he could access it without, repercussions of some sort, I think.
Yeah, that definitely can sound really, yeah, isolating, like you said, and yeah, it can really be difficult to process and all of that. Yeah, I have a follow-up question, and this one's more about you, but how has like your brother's story and just kind of everything that's happened in your family, how has that like impacted like your mental health? How has that impacted like how you heal? And yeah, if you can go into more about that.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think that specifically for me, my method of healing has been also through artwork. When I was younger and anytime I was sad, I think that during initial lockdown, I called my brother and I told him I was really struggling, and he told me just to keep creating art and it will help take your mind off of things. And my art is acting. I'm an actor. That's also part of why I live in LA. And I had just started my BFA program at UC Santa Barbara in acting. And I was able to fully immerse myself in a community of actors and creating and using my body to move and telling stories that felt like I was both connecting to my brother and also being able to like use my grief as sort of a storytelling and artistic tool. So having that, I think truly, truly saved me from going into, I think, what could have been a much worse place. Also therapy. I love my therapist. She's incredible. And those were like my two main tools. So it was really hard, I think, for me and my sister to figure out where we stood and where we fit in the story. Um, our mom, she's incredible. She also does overdose prevention work in the community, but she really needed our support. And so sometimes it felt like I had to choose between myself and her own grief, and finding the space to allow myself to grieve in the way that I needed to. It was definitely a journey. I think I'm still figuring it out. But doing this work and helping others, putting on the art and music festival that I created in my brother's honor, those were healing tools for me.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And like everyone's saying in the comments, like it's so, yeah, the cause that you are pushing and everything is just so beautiful to see how you kind of channeled that grief and that loss into something so beautiful and so powerful that can be shared for other people. Um, yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for being on, you're vulnerable and sharing that with us. Um, yeah, if you could like channel like a younger self, like would there be any advice that you would give to maybe a young adult who's struggling or um even a friend that's struggling? Do you have any pieces of advice for them that you kind of would say?
Um, yeah, you mean in terms of like grieving or mental health in general?
I would say
Um,
like, yeah, like mental health in general, or even, yeah, if you want to get more specific about grief and processing grief and things like that.
mhm.
Yeah, what would you say?
Yeah, it's so hard because everyone's experience with mental health is so, so incredibly different. And I think that, first of all, what my brother's advice has stuck with me to find a form of creation and creativity that lights you up, and allowing yourself to take the time and space for that is like so incredibly powerful, whether that's writing or painting or acting, um, or like, I don't know, foraging outside. I went through a foraging phase where I looked up all the native plants and edible like herbs in my environment, and I would just spend hours just like immersing myself in that. Find a creative outlet because art is healing. It really, really is. And I think that also talking about it, unfortunately, can sometimes be the very worst, most hard thing to do. Um, I I created a film called Blackbird. You guys can find it on YouTube if you're interested, but it's actually about it was my senior honors thesis, and it includes a lot of my brother's artwork and digital animations, and it's sort of my it's kind of like this, but in a more mixed media artistic way. But I said I grieve very loudly by myself, very quietly with my friends, and I don't grieve at all with my family. And that's not because I don't feel safe grieving with my family, but because it's so hard to be loud or accepting of your own mental health problems or your own grief around people who see you so clearly and they want to help you so bad, because it almost feels like you're putting that burden on them, like you're gonna hurt them if you talk about it, or um, make their grief or their, own struggles worse. But it's important to know that you should talk about it and you can talk about it, because I think other people also need that invitation to know that it's okay to have those conversations. So keep creating and talk about it in the ways that you can, even if that's through the artwork that you create, which is what I initially did. um I think that those are powerful ways to heal. But that's just one part of like, I think, 1,000 other different ways
Yeah,
to do that.
for sure. Yeah, that's a really good advice, is just having like a channel to express emotion and in any way that you can process, and just, yeah, not being afraid to share yeah, being vulnerable with people, especially like those that love you and that you love. Yeah, it can definitely be really daunting to like go to like my parents, for example, to like talk about a mental health struggle that I'm dealing with because yeah, like it can get kind of sticky just like with their emotions and their like how they're processing it and how it's like you're so entwined. So it can definitely be really tough, but just taking that step and whether it be a friend or yeah, another loved one, that's like so important to have. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I don't want to hog all the time. I could ask questions all day, but anyone have any other questions for Phoebe?
If I could share really quickly, Carlos Mello with Bright Life Kids. Phoebe, thank you first for the vulnerability and the way that you approach this conversation. I was, yeah, in listening to your story and your brother's story, it was very moving and very touching. I'm a UC Santa Barbara alumni, and so it's awesome to hear the work that you did at UC Santa Barbara and the impact that you're able to have on the campus community and the entire Isla Vista community. I think that the work that you did there sounds like it was amazing, and it's awesome to hear that there's resources there for the students and for the community at large, because it's not easy to connect with such a large campus community, and for you to be able to put up together a program that's going to go past the time that you were there and hopefully go on for a very long time. I think that that's super impactful. So a ton of kudos to you for being able to gear your energy in your loss and your grief in the direction that you turned it towards. And I think that it's awesome, and I love to hear the work that you're getting to do with your family.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Can I ask what year you graduated?
Yeah, I graduated in 2018.
Okay. Yeah. So Gauchos for Recovery is our collegiate recovery program, and it's existed for I think 13 years now. So it was around, but it was much smaller and much more focused on recovery resources and weekly recovery meetings, which is amazing. And so being able to expand the overdose prevention side of it, now it's like this double-sided force, and it's been really impactful to the community as well. So oh my God, I'm just so honored that I was
Mhm.
able to be a part of that program. Like, truly, it changed my life. And yeah, thank you so much. Your words really, really mean a lot to me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And like I said, like I'm still connected. I played soccer there for 3 years, and so I'm like still connected to the community. And so whenever I do go back, I'll make sure that whoever I'm connected with knows about it, so that they are connecting whoever it is that's in their spaces to such an awesome program.
Thank you. Yeah, tell them to go to Embarcadero Hall.
Will do.
I'm gonna actually, yeah, if and no one has any other questions, I'm gonna close out with one last question. So yeah, Phoebe, how like we're all sitting here, we're all so moved and so inspired by your story and the work that you do. How can we support Tristan Alva Alliance as a coalition? Yeah, what can we do?
Well, first of all, just so you guys all know, Connect OC does provide free Narcan. So if you don't have Narcan, go out to Connect OC and get some. Please, if you don't have it, now's the time. Now's the time. You can also get it online delivered to you through endoverdose.com. And additionally, I'm also a part of another nonprofit called Team Awareness for Combating Overdose, and you can go online and get some for free there. So whatever's most convenient for you. There's a lot of ways to get it, but you shouldn't have to pay $50 for it at the pharmacy. That's redonkulous. So don't do that. Get some at Connect OC. So that's first of all an incredible way that you guys are supporting our mission. But second of all, we are just getting started and really trying to make our mission come alive. So I think just we were interested in being included in whatever you guys are able to include us in. We're going to be starting to put together some community events for fundraising, and I'd love to include you guys in that. But we're just trying to get our mission out there along with, raising enough funds to make this happen because as you guys are aware, a lot of funding is being cut to mental health programs like these in the country. Currently, there was, well, in the budget planning for the current administration, they're cutting a huge amount of the Narcan grant through the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So our access to all these resources and our access to public funding that was available in the past is going to go away. So we're going to be relying a lot on finding sources of funding that can support us that aren't necessarily, you know, tied to what is available through the government. So we're really trying to get our word out to the community, because I know that these resources are what people want and what people need. So just including us in upcoming events, and I'll let you guys know what events we're planning, and you guys can get involved as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Phoebe, for just being willing to share your story, and just seeing the passion behind your story and the work that you guys do over at Tristan Alva Alliance is so inspiring for all of us. And I know that we can definitely walk away with some beautiful like nugget of hope and light there. Yeah, just thank you for your time and your willingness to be part of the community. But yeah, we're gonna move quickly into some program updates on our end. So for the Connect OC, we are in planning for so many events. We are at Cypress College, we're at Vanguard, we're planning with Santa Ana College and Cal State Fullerton, UCI. We have so many events coming up, so we're just in the planning process of all those events. If you want to be a part of that, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. Yeah, if anybody's interested in being a part, yeah, I just want to thank all our partners already for participating and joining with us at these awesome events as well. And I think that is all on our end. If anybody has any program updates that they would like to share about their program, please feel free to unmute yourself. And yeah, share with us what's kind of going on. Last thing I'll say is if you can take a minute to take our survey. Crystal put it in the chat. It'd be really appreciative if you can fill that out. It's really fast, and it just helps us know what you all want to hear about and learn about. And yeah, just makes these coalition meetings better. First, I will actually pass it. Erin, do you have any updates on your end?
I do. Thank you so much, Sarah. And Phoebe, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That was a beautiful presentation. And I know we all feel grateful for your openness and your beautiful story and your mission. And I am excited to work with you through the cultural arts and mental health program as well, because you are so right. Art is healing. And within our cultural arts and mental health program, we do offer workshops that focus on visual arts and theater and music and photography, and we travel to partner organization sites. This is fully funded by the Orange County Healthcare Agency, so if your organization is interested in partnering with us and receiving these wonderful workshops led by specially trained teaching artists, please contact me, and my email is in the chat. And then last update is tomorrow we will be at the Symphonies in the Park event with Pacific Symphony is playing, and it's at the Oso Park in Mission Viejo, and we will have a table there sharing an interactive art activity and sharing mental health resources. So if you need more information on that, please also contact me. And yeah, thank you for such a wonderful time this morning.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Yeah, anybody have any program updates they'd like to share?
If I could share really quickly a little bit about Bright Life Kids. I'm not sure if anybody from our program has come to a coalition meeting before, but we're a completely free behavioral health support service for families with kids from 0 to 12, so newborns to 12-year-olds. It's behavioral health coaching, happens virtually. And I would love to get connected to anybody that's interested. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. I had done it at the beginning of the meeting, but I'll drop it in here again. And I would be happy to get connected or come out to table with you all. I'm in Fullerton, but I'm overseeing all of Orange County. So any opportunities that we have to get in front of families to promote this free resource, it would be awesome to be able to connect with you all so that we can get Bright Life Kids to as many families as possible.
That's awesome. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else?
I can go real quick. I think a lot of you have heard about Friskers, but just in case you haven't, a little brief overview. We serve young adults in Orange County aged 13 to 25 who are pregnant or parenting. And that's through multiple different facets, but one of that is weekly groups. And we are starting up our 2025-2026 program year in about 5 or 6 weeks. It's the week of September 15th. I'll go ahead and drop our flyer in the chat if anybody wants more information on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Anybody else?
I'm Terry Still. I'm a case manager with Ready Set OC, and I'm now the work readiness trainer. So I'm going to reach out to him because I full on believe in art and how that helps people when they're reaching burnout on the job. And we see a lot of that with our youth because many of them are parenting or DOJ or IEP. They have barriers that cause a lot of stress. And as much as they want to work, it's difficult. So thank you. Ready Set OC is part of the OC workforce, and we help youth ages 14 to 24 with skills education and training. But we also link them, and we have a lot of youth that are going to benefit from some of that information that Phoebe just shared. Thank you, Phoebe. It's wonderful to see the youth out there advocating for change and support and assisting our next generation. So thank you. And if I also reached out to Sarah because those little toads, I bring mine to work all the time.
So cute.
Yeah.
Oh, you
And
put pins on them. Cute.
yeah, they've been beat out. Oh, you can't even see it. Anyways, the youth love these bags. So if you guys have any swag that's useful, what we do is we create a bag of links to participants that are registered for our program so that if they need that additional assistance, we can provide it. And Carlos, I love that you're working with the parents because what I find is I've got a lot of the older siblings that are just struggling. And then I meet the parents with the younger siblings and realize they're overwhelmed. And so I'll be reaching out to you as well. So great meeting. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Terry. Anybody else? No? All right. Well, yeah, thanks again for coming and just being part of this awesome discussion. Our next meeting is on Friday, September 12th at 10 a.m. on Zoom. And yeah, we hope to see you then. Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Stay cool. Yeah, thank you so much again.